All right, let's dive in to a framework that tries to do something, well, pretty audacious. It wants to merge the super precise math of quantum physics with the, let's say, less tangible world of spirituality. It's called exophysics, and what it's proposing is nothing less than a new fundamental equation for reality itself. So let's kick things off with a huge question, one that people have been wrestling with for, well, forever. Is the world that we see with our own two eyes, is that the whole story? Or is there something else going on? Maybe a hidden layer running just behind the curtain of what we call the material world. According to this exophysics framework, reality is kind of two-sided. You've got the measurable material world on one side. This is the world of effects, everything we can see, touch, and measure. But then on the other side, there's the unmeasurable spiritual world, and that's the realm of causes. This place isn't tied down to one spot in space. It's what physicists call non-local. And we don't see it with our eyes, we sense it with our intuition. So how in the world do these two realities talk to each other? Well, the theory proposes that the connection is actually written directly into the code of the universe through a pretty serious modification to one of the most important equations in all of science. This right here is the famous Schrödinger equation. You can think of it as the original rulebook for the quantum world. It's the formula that predicts the future of a system. That's the psi symbol, based on all the normal physical forces acting on it. And all those known forces get bundled up into that one symbol, the H. So, exophysics takes that classic rulebook and basically adds two new chapters. The corrected equation you see here introduces two new operators, HWW and HWA. Now, these aren't just little mathematical tweaks. They're supposed to represent real, actual forces that exist beyond the standard physics we all know. Let's break this down. The first new piece, HWW, is called the operator of free will. This is supposed to be the force of our consciousness, yours and mine. It's described as a real force, but here's the key. It's indeterministic. That means we can use it to influence reality, but the outcome isn't a sure thing. And apparently, we activate it through focused mental states, like deep meditation or intense concentration. The second new piece is HWA, the operator of the will of the absolute. This represents a higher power, or God, and it's described as the only completely deterministic force in the whole universe. So unlike our free will, when this force gets involved, the effects are absolute, 100% certain. So now we've got three forces in the mix, right? We've got our standard physical forces, we've got human free will, and we've got the will of the absolute. But, and this is a big but, they don't all get an equal vote. There's a very specific pecking order here that decides who has the final say in creating our reality. Okay, this is where it gets really crucial. In the weird world of quantum math, the order you do things in is everything. It's not like regular addition. Think about getting dressed. Putting on your socks and then your shoes is very different from putting on your shoes and then your socks. In this equation, the operator for the absolute will, HWA, is put at the very end. That means it always acts last, after everything else has had its say, giving it the final decisive word on what happens. So what's our batting average then? How much influence can we really have with our own minds? The theory actually puts a number on it. It says that our free will on its own can top out at a maximum certainty of about 80%. Pretty powerful, for sure, but not absolute. And now compare that to the will of the absolute. Any outcome that it initiates, or even just gives the thumbs up to, has a certainty of 100%. No questions asked. This mathematical structure sets up a really clear power dynamic. Our will can make a proposal, but a higher will ultimately decides. Okay, I know what you might be thinking. This all sounds incredibly abstract, right? Like, what am I supposed to do with this? Well, the framework actually proposes a set of practical applications. It suggests there are specific techniques. It calls them mental quantum tools that let us consciously tap into that cause level of reality. The whole process is laid out in basically 3 steps. First, you make a mental shift. You turn your focus away from the world of effects and onto the world of causes. Then, step 2, you use your free will to consciously disturb that HW operator we talked about. And finally, that disturbance, that change you initiated on the causal level, begins to manifest as a new effect in the physical world. So, what exactly are these tools? Well, some of them you'll probably recognize, like meditation, visualizations, affirmations. These are seen as ways to focus our consciousness. But the theory also introduces some newer ideas, things like using the concept of quantum entanglement to mentally link a problem directly to its solution, or something called scientific magic, which is a proposed way to actually modify the core parameters of reality. Even prayer fits in here, framed as a tool that can be 100% effective, but only if it's aligned with that absolute will. So, where does all of this leave us, philosophically? What does it all add up to? Well, it leads us to a concept called theistic compatibilityism. It's a fancy term for a way to make two seemingly opposite ideas fit together. The idea that we have free will, and the idea that there is an all-powerful, deterministic higher power. And there's this quote from the source material that it nails it. It really captures the whole idea in one sentence. We are the blacksmiths of our own fate. We absolutely have the power and the responsibility to shape our own reality. Our free will is real, it's creative. But, and it's a huge but, it operates inside a much larger system. And whatever we create has to ultimately be consistent with that final governing force. And that leaves us with one final, pretty provocative thought to chew on. Just for a second, put aside whether you buy the physics or not. Just entertain the idea. If you really had the power to reach into that unmeasurable realm of causes and make a change, what would you do? What effect would you want to create in your world?